today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about
cultural differences and power imbalances in divorce. Instead of fighting over whose religion is best, instead focus on maybe some of the shared values they have.
And I always start with what is best for your kid. Let's start with there, right? Based on the age of the kid, the age group, the situation the kid is going through.
Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship, and I'm Rich Heller, your host. And today we're interviewing Neepa Padia from Holistic Divorce Journey. She is a certified divorce coach and specializes in helping immigrants and expats through the divorce process, which is complicated enough if you're a citizen. How are you today, Neepa?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm excellent. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I think we have matching glasses.
Oh, yes, I guess so.
Yeah, these are the cool glasses.
Yes, always.
Hey, so the question I ask, it's been so long since I've interviewed someone. This is so much fun. The question I ask everyone at the beginning of the show is, how did your heart lead you into doing this work?
Well, that's a very good question. And I always like to talk about this because my own experience, my own journey led me to, start helping others because I could see the gap in the journey. And then I started helping others and I could see that it makes really a huge difference. Even a small help make a big difference. And that led me to work with them more systematically. So I trained myself, got certified, and now I'm a certified divorce coach. And I'll talk a little bit about how I got into it as you asked. So I'm basically an immigrant. I'm from India. So when I got married, I left my thriving job, my family, friends, everything behind, came to this country on dependent spouse visa. So completely dependent. I cannot work and got into the trap of abusive relationship and started losing myself. And I also think that what am I doing to my life? Am I doing justice to this beautiful life, gifted by God? And one New Year Eve, out of like prolonged abuse, I feared for my life. And then I decided I cannot take it anymore. And I decided to get out of it. But that was like, one set of challenges. And the another set of challenges started how to get out. How will I manage this lengthy and expensive legal process? I was not earning. And on top of it, I had about $25,000 debt, marital debt solely on me because there was a company opened in my name during my marriage. But I still went on with my own trial error, on my own, made some mistakes as well. I must admit that, but I'm out of it now. I must say that I learned a lot. I got so many skills, expertise, and built a lot of connections that now it motivated me to help others. And maybe that's the reason I went to this journey. And I'm so thankful to the journey that today I'm here helping others and especially as working with immigrants because I know there are additional challenges for them.
So it seems like what happened there was you came to this country and you married someone, and we're here on you're just married to someone visa, which I'm going to guess means you don't get to work.
Exactly. The dependent
and so
visa,
you're basically, there's a power imbalance in the relationship. You're kind of a financial prisoner almost of this person. Things don't work out. It turns out you pick someone that was toxic, and you want to get out, but you've got no way to work. You're carrying debt from stuff that was incurred in your name. Wow, what a tough spot. So it sounds like you really understand how badly things can go when you are marrying someone in another country and don't have a lot of leverage.
Yes, definitely. Because sometimes as you mentioned rightly, that when you are on the dependent spouse visa and back of the mind, you always have a fear that you are dependent right, on this. And there is a fear in this country too, when someone comes up from outside and living here temporarily, that what if something goes wrong? USCIS is looking at me, IRS is looking at me, that fear, that it's just a build up fear is there. And that always leads, even if you're going through any situation in your marriage, you don't have courage to take any step because you are always in that restrictions and limitations. Yes.
So you kept on the road. I was going to say fought your way through it, but it probably wasn't really as much of a fight as it was just a being persistent and
True.
following through. Because
True.
fighting toxic people doesn't never ends well.
No.
You following through and got the education that you needed, got certified. Found that based on this experience, you were going to show up for people who found themselves in
Yes.
very similar positions to you.
True. True. Because it's like you have a choice, right? That either you get into that, remain in that situation and lose yourself forever, or you just take the first step, gather your courage, take the first step and move on. And trust me, once you take first step, the universe is there to help you. And that's what my aim is, there to make others feel that you have support available. Just
Well, we all love that moment when the universe is there. So it's like, oh my God, the door has opened. It seemed like I was
yes.
trapped and now I am free. I think a lot of people experience that in a normal divorce, meaning same culture, same economic standing. But I think it's even more potent when you're coming out of a power imbalance like that. And I think what we're really going to explore today is, when two people have, and I don't know if this is your situation, but I know you've worked with a lot of people like
Yes.
this. When two people grow up in different cultures and they meet and they fall in love and they have children, that's really a very beautiful thing. This thing, cross-cultural
Beautiful.
relationships,
Yes.
interracial marriages, all these things that kind of bring us closer together and build bridges.
True.
But when it goes wrong, it seems like there's a lot more opportunity to stir things up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
what are some of the challenges that you typically see in cross-cultural divorce?
Well, if we take an example, not even cross-cultural, but two different region, or jurisdiction. Like I'll just take an example of India because since I mentioned that I'm from India, it's like one person who is like bought and raised here, an Indian origin, and someone from India coming and marrying that person, still there is a cultural difference, right? And in that case, also I have seen that expectations are different, your way of thinking and living is different, and in that case even the small thing becomes big, and that leads to a lot of misunderstandings, and then comes the case of extended family as well. Because again, that lead to, when I say culture, it not only two people, it is the entire like community, and starts with your extended family, and expectation from both the families are different because they have different cultures. And then when you are going through divorce, the support system is different, the who will take care of the kid, that mindset is different. So a lot of challenges come across due to even the regional differences in the same culture.
Yeah, no. I had an Indian couple who came to me for couples work. They wanted to save the marriage, and the young lady had grown up in this country, and the young man had grown up in India, and he had he was very much more conservative in some ways, and her family was here, and his family was there, and they came into the first session, and around the third session, he said, "I don't know if I can do this. I didn't expect us to have to be this honest." And so, she grew up here. She grew up with the understanding of when you work with a counselor or a
Correct.
coach or a third
Correct.
person, that it's about unveiling and sharing. But he felt very much that, especially because I didn't grow up in the same culture, that it was especially inappropriate to share their personal life with me on the level that she wanted to.
Yes, yes.
And that was a big challenge for them.
It is. It is. I have seen this. And this is another very big challenge is for all the experts that we work with people. That is also one of the cultural difference. And in some of the cultures, not only India, and some of other countries I have seen, especially South Asian, that they are not open to work with such experts or coaches because it's never have been the culture. But here it's so open that if you are going through any challenge, you go to the expert, take their help, and make it easier, right? So again, that's a conflict too, because when I work with my clients, and then when I suggest that, okay, for even the co-parenting, let's send your kid to a therapist. And if it's the culture from other country, if doesn't believe in that, they would say, It's not required. If we don't understand our kid, how will the other person understand, and it's all that the experts, how can they help us just within 1 hour of session. So it's all that also leads to a lot of differences. So I
Yeah,
agree with you.
with this couple that I was working with, there was also differences between the parents. Her parents really wanted to do everything they could to support the marriage, and they wanted it to be a little more American in feeling. And his parents were furious. His parents felt that was disrespectful to him. His parents felt that they were upset with her that he had asked her to come into couples work, in fact. So
Yes.
how do these differences between culture and families, how does it play out in the work that you're doing with people?
Well, if I talk about how does it impact or maybe how it lead to divorce, then one thing I have seen is the intervention of extended family and in-laws is one of the reasons, I would say, of the divorce too in some of the cultures, because they always try to know how the couple is living and how they should be living and how they should follow the tradition. And if they don't, then they have complaints, and then there are some set expectations no matter what place you are living in. And if they don't meet set expectations, then it also adds to their um discomfort, or as you said, they are furious, the extended family.
Yeah,
And then
discomfort would have been mild for this family. They were really upset.
yes. And it then when it happens, what happens is, if they are not mature enough, the extended family as well as the person, one of the spouse is not mature, and if they adopt those upset cultural issues and bring in the couple, then the couple will start having those issues, the small things, and that will add up to more conflicts, and it may lead to divorce eventually. But if you actually go back and analyze, initially the couple was so good, they didn't have any issue, but this added things from the external sources will lead to divorce. So this is one of my observations, and many cultures, many country, country, or just to say one country culture. Yes.
Yeah, well, and it makes sense. I mean, this was an Indian couple, with just one had more American influence, very similar value system otherwise, though. And I can only imagine the difference if you grew up in different cultures, completely different cultures. Your interpretation of what it means to be honest could be very different from one culture to another. Here in America, I bet people are going, "What? No, honest is honest." But the really, if we're honest, honesty is a very relative term. Just like that gentleman felt he was being honest. He just didn't feel he should be completely transparent.
True.
Whereas her standard of honesty was, we should show everything.
True.
They both believed they were being honest. They just had different approaches to it. I'm super curious. So you've been doing this work for a number of years now, and when somebody comes to you, what's sort of the first step in helping them in this situation?
Well, so my job is basically to equip them with, techniques and tools during their journey. So I help them navigate the divorce journey and make it smoother. So basically, the important aspects which I have seen and I always think we should keep in mind is, like, first of all, you don't have to fight for every single thing. It's not the divorce that you have to fight for every single thing, but what you want in your future, how you want your future to be. And let's see, and then let's plan it back and see what is now required to work on. And then that's my first step, I always say. And second is co-parenting. You know better though, but there are a lot of conflicts over there, which I think that it should be in the best interest of the kids, and then see what works best for you. And the third thing I always try to work is communication, effective communication. Even if you are even considering your divorce, I work with those people as well who are just considering to see, it is divorce the right thing for me or not, and how to communicate. If you say, for example, if you decide to divorce, then the first step is when you communicate with your spouse. That is, you make or break thing. How you communicate is very important. So with that, also with the kids based on their age group, and also not only with your ex or kids, but also the experts you are working with, especially your attorneys, the family law attorneys, because sometimes I've seen in my clients that they have too much expectation from the attorneys, which is not the legal matters, but something else that they expect. And they, so I always say, and they say, okay, they do not respond to me, or they're taking time, or they're charging me. But then how to communicate, how to make it easy to deal with them also is very important for them to make it, to rationalize their expenses. So I always say that I always emphasize on these important points so that they can avoid major mistakes and rationalize their expenses.
I love that. So you basically identified 3 steps, if I got it right. The first is, it has something to do with pick your battles carefully. The second
Yes.
has to do with focusing on co-parenting, and the third is around communication. Yeah.
Communication.
And
And also other aspects with depending upon their case, like what the
oh,
matter is, but
the
these are
fourth
very important.
is children and their needs. That might come under co-parenting, it might not. So let's talk about the first one. I have, for example, a couple that from Guyana, where one is Hindu and the other is Christian. Guyana is a very mixed country.
Yes, it is.
Right, very intense culture. Very respectful. They're both very respectful. They share a lot of, both coming from Guyanese culture, they share a lot of values, but they're having a big battle about how the children should be raised. So how, if they were getting divorced, which I hope they're not, I think they're reconciling.
That's good.
How would you walk them through figuring out what to fight over regarding culture and religion in that way? Well, they're both from Guyana, so they don't have a problem with that, but it's Hinduism versus Christianity.
Yeah. So here are a couple of aspects. Like first is, are they going to be together in the same location? Because sometimes I have seen one of the parent
one might want to go back to Guyana.
Yes, to go back to home country as well. Then it's a different setup altogether. But if they are together, and what is their child custody agreement, that also makes a difference. But as long as we are talking about the culture, we always say that, okay, what are your important festivals? What are your valuable cultural thing that you want to inculcate in your kid, right? And let's check that out. At the same time, we want to ensure that the kid has the understanding and same respect for the other religion or culture as well. So having that also together, and then see that you plan your co-parenting or the custody arrangement in a way that the kid respect both of it, and you also have to ensure that you show respect to both of it, because you may not be doing good or going along with your ex-spouse, but you can still respect the culture, you can still respect the festivals or those important time of the thing. So since your question is specifically to how to maintain the culture, this is very important, and that adds to the extended family expectation again, because when that culture, it covers all the community together, and we need to ensure that the respect is extended to the extended family, because not all the in-laws or all extended families are always bad or something like that. They're always there to help and support, because it's a family. So to have that cultural and familiar values, we need to ensure that that respect is maintained. That's something I always
I love that. So it sounds like what you're saying is, instead of fighting over whose religion is best, instead focus on maybe some of the shared values they have. They both feel that family is important. They both feel tradition is important.
Correct.
And that in separating, if they can honor family and each other's families and each other's traditions, and maybe not force a choice on the children's part so quickly, allow them to participate and have both experiences, that might take. I love that. It's a great, very clean solution.
And I have seen in some of my clients doing it. Like, for example, say if it's Hindu festivals, Diwali is the biggest one, right? then even the spouse come, the other spouse who is not Hindu, also come for the dinner together, because it gives the kid a lot of confidence and respect for it. And at the same time, say one of is Muslim and there's a big Eid, or then they manage to do this, then that's something we want to cultivate, in our journey of divorce, for everyone who is going through divorce, because that makes it so amicable, not only for the couple but for the kids, because in the long run it's very beneficial for the kids.
So let's talk about co-parenting. And just for the audience's sake, co-parenting is when two parents are of the same mind. They are trying to show a shared face to the children. They may not agree with each other about whether they're good people or not. They might not even like each other, but the face they're going to show the children is, we care about you and we are of one mind on how to raise you. And if we're really honest, co-parenting is an ideal that it would be really nice if parents who weren't getting divorced would reach for. There are many people who are married who don't co-parent very well, who disagree openly in front of the children. It's like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 would be co-parenting, where each parent, uplifts the other in the eyes of the children, and they have the same rules. They never break the rules. They do everything perfectly. On a 1 would be what we call parallel parenting, where each parent does whatever the heck they want. And they don't care. They don't mind if the kids talk badly of the other parent or any of that. Yeah, whatever you do in my house is fine. So in real life, parenting occurs on a scale of 1,
Yes,
is parallel parenting, 10 being perfect harmony. And so when we talk about co-parenting and divorce, we're usually talking about people moving from like a 5, which is somewhere in the middle, which and encouraging them to move towards co-parenting, because when they're in the divorce process, they're so busy fighting each other, they sometimes forget how important it is to show the children a common face. All right, that said, let's talk about cross-cultural co-parenting. And we touched on it a little bit in the religious example. How does this work when you've got a client who's with you, they feel they've got someone on the other side who's who's got their own idea of how to raise the children? How do you navigate that together?
So you mean one parent has own idea and not able to?
You're working with a client. I assume, and maybe incorrectly, that your clients often feel that they are that they are in the less powerful position economically or maybe legally. How do you, when you're feeling like that, whether it's true or not, right? How do you contend with that person who they have their idea about how the children should be raised? They really don't care what you seem to care. They don't really seem to care about what you think.
Yeah. So if I have a client that, okay, he or she wants to co-parent in certain way, and they think it's right, but as you mentioned, we don't know. So I think I mentioned before as well, I always start with what is best for your kid. Let's start with there, right? Based on the age of the kid, the age group, the situation the kid is going through, let's start with that and see. So sometimes I have seen, like, I would say more than 50% the conflict or this outrage is not for raising the kid but against the co-parent or the ex-spouse, that is still there in back of the mind, which reflects on this point that, okay, co-parenting should be like this. But then second point, I always said, okay, you may be thinking that he is not right or wrong, but let's see from that other person's standpoint as a parent, not as as your ex, right? And see if he or she is a good parent. If does he or she take care of the kid the way it should be? And let's start with that and say, and then we actually put it on paper that, okay, let's note down what are your complaints or where you think is not going right or is not going as per your way. And then let's put it on paper and see, do you think this is good for the kid or not working for the kid? And trust me, I'm just making a number. 80% of the time, the other parent is also thinking good for the kid itself, right? But we are not looking at
This
it.
is the problem, I think, is that everybody thinks they're doing what's best for the kid. One of the things I do with in the divorce world is I'm what's called a parent coordinator. So I work with people who are getting divorced that
Mhm.
the judge has mandated them to come to a mediator to talk about how they're going to parent.
Yes.
And inevitably, what's amazing is they might disagree about something, and they're both so sure that they
Yeah.
are right. But what I love about your approach is, since you don't have them both in the room, you only have one of them. You
No,
can't
yes.
you can't really negotiate that with them. I love the way you're
No.
taking your client and having them see it through the other person's eyes. Whether
Correct.
you agree with them or not really isn't that important. What's more important is that first, that they see it through their eyes, they walk in their
Exactly.
shoes, and at least see what the intention is. Because
Exactly.
I think a lot of times in these kind of battles about parenting, it becomes I'm right and you're wrong instead of
Yes.
what's best for the kids.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how do you help them with the communication side of that? They go through this. They have this portrait of the other parent, and they've made it through the religious battle. They figured out some kind of cultural thing. They've got a view of how the other parent thinks. How does that impact when you get to the communication piece? What's the next step?
Well, sometimes if needed, I do with the role play and reverse role play as well. Sometimes they're on the talking term, and sometimes not. Based on
Sometimes they're on the what?
talking, like they can talk to each other. Sometimes the per court order
Talking
they
terms.
cannot.
Got it.
Yeah, they cannot talk to each other. And then, so based on if they are interacting on regular basis on such stuff and they turn into conflict, maybe it is good to help them see what are the good techniques to communicate. You don't have to react, you can respond in a way. So sometimes we also go to the detail level to the extent that, okay, email, once you are just interacting through emails, then draft your email, send it to yourself, not to other person, to yourself, read it through and see, is it really needed to write all this, or you just need to be specific to the points. So we go to that level and see to build up the communication, to make it smooth, to ensure that, okay, there are no additional conflicts.
Love that. I think this is kind of like the icing on the cake of the work that you're doing with folks is that, a lot of the times when we write an email, we really don't know how it sounds. Or sometimes when we say things, we think that we sound perfectly reasonable. I have a great marriage, but sometimes I say things that I think I sound perfectly okay.
Yeah.
But my wife, she's not so sure. I mean, so that's in a good marriage. If you're in a divorce, there's none of that good stuff going on.
Yeah.
So easy to be misinterpreted. And so that they have someone like you who can see both sides, who's been there, who understands the process, that is huge. I'm curious. I understand that you do master classes. How could people find you and find out about these master classes? What are some ways that they can reach out to you?
Well, they can always reach out to me through my website. I'm there on Facebook, Instagram, and
What is your website?
Oh, sure. It's holisticdivorcejourney.com.
Okay, and we'll make sure that's in the notes for the podcast. If you didn't get it, you can see if you're watching this on a video, you can see it says holistic divorce.
Yes, it's written
journey.
out
I
there.
guess there's no spaces though.
No, there are no spaces for the
Right.
website. Correct.
Spelled just the way it is on the screen: HOLISTICDIVORCEJOURNEY.com.
.com. Correct.
Yeah.
And most of my master classes are through Eventbrite. So you may find me through Eventbrite as well. So there are the various sources, but my website is the easiest, right? Because you find all the sources through that.
Excellent. Hey, and a question that I ask pretty much everyone when we get to the end of the podcast is, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind when you leave this earth?
Wow, that's huge. It's huge. But well, I love this question because when I started this work, I just with the intention of helping others, leaving my corporate world behind. So I love this question. Well, I want to leave a thought or a feeling that for the person who is going to divorce, that I am not alone. That thought and that feeling should be there in their mind, that, oh, I'm not alone. And they should see me as their helping hand or thinking partner, helping them navigating through the divorce journey, and especially for the immigrants or expats, because they have, as we discussed, they have additional challenges like cultural challenges, other challenges, language barrier. So there are many other challenges they have. So at that time, they may need even more support. So that's why you are not alone. That's the feeling I want to leave behind. And I would like to add one more thing though, is that when you end of the journey, when you are now in the next chapter of your life, you should feel throughout this journey that it should not depleting, but it should be empowering you. So when you are out of this journey, you should feel resilient. You should feel free for your next chapter of life. And for that, keeping your best self is very important. So take care of yourself. So once you take care, your mind is rational. You can take the right decision and you can build a secure future and you will not get back to this situation again. So that's what I would like to say.
I love that. Yeah, nobody wants to be creating the same problems over and over.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course.
And I look forward to seeing you in the future.
You too. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone.